And developments in the Middle East and Lebanon, let me bring you right up to date, because the Israeli military says it has carried out a targeted strike on the Lebanese capital, Beirut, after Hezbollah fired more than 100 rockets into Israel. These are the live pictures, and they are coming into us all the time, showing still the aftermath of the blast. You can still see areas of smoke in the southern suburbs. That is the area that has been targeted by the Israelis in the last little while. Lebanon's health ministry says 8 people have been killed and at least 59 people injured in the attack on the suburbs of Beirut. Meanwhile, within the last hour, there's also been more sirens and a number of rockets fired into northern Israel. There are also a number of reports that the target of Israel's strike was the senior Hezbollah commander Ibrahim Aqil. Witnesses say they heard a blast in the southern suburbs with a building being hit. Let me show you the pictures that show the large plume of smoke when that blast actually went off. There it is, centre screen, with the smoke rising over the skyline. And that was the scene, a couple of hours ago. Let's go to the live pictures, because that is what the scene is like, because that is the situation on the ground now. So let's go outside of one of the hospitals in Beirut. Now, Fish Konovad is there, our correspondent, and bring us right up to date. I hope you can hear me. Bring us right up to date. Well, apologies. We've clearly got a problem there with that line. I will try and also bring you the latest we had from Hugo Bachega. He was there on the ground talking to me a short while ago, very close to the scene. And he was just describing what it was like in those moments, in the streets afterwards. And of course, all of this coming after 3 days there, where there has been so much panic and alarm in Beirut. You had the pager blasts, you then had the walkie-talkie blasts, and then, of course, over the last 12, 18 hours, an exchange of rocket fire. I talked about Hugo Bachega because he was there on the ground, very close to that strike site. So let's hear his latest dispatch when he was talking to me just a short while ago.
So we are here in Dahir, which is Beirut's southern suburb that is a stronghold of Hezbollah. We're not really far from the location that was hit in this Israeli airstrike. It is a very tense situation. Got to tell you that we can't really move here because we've been told by Hezbollah supporters, Hezbollah members, that we need to sort of stay here. But to my right, a few blocks from here, is the building where that was targeted in this Israeli airstrike. It happened at around 4 o'clock in the afternoon here, and you can see that this is a densely populated area of Beirut. So this happened in the middle of the afternoon, and now we know that there is a search operation. People are reported to be under the rubble. We've seen that there's some destruction there, at least one building that's partially collapsed. At least, the facade of the building has collapsed as a result of this airstrike. And now the Lebanese authorities are saying that at least 3 people have been killed. Now, the Israeli military has confirmed that the target of this operation was Ibrahim Aqil, who is a senior Hezbollah official. So it's saying, the Israeli military saying that this was a targeted operation, and now there is obviously a lot of tension here. This has been a week in which Hezbollah has suffered a massive security blow, and it seems that this is another attack targeting a key Hezbollah figure here in Beirut.
Well, that was Hugo Bachega talking to me very close to the scene of that blast. Let me bring you up to date in terms of what is coming to us from the White House, because we've had those details from the Lebanese health ministry saying 8 dead, 59 injured. But the White House talking about this already, the National Security spokesman John Kirby saying he was not aware of any notification from Israel to the United States before those strikes today, but again then underlining to American citizens not to travel to Lebanon and to leave if they are already there. We've heard the same message from the UK Foreign Secretary David Lammy. And of course, the White House also underlining that they are involved in more diplomatic efforts to try to de-escalate the situation in the region. But I've been talking in the last hour to Manny Fabian, who's the military correspondent for the Times of Israel, about the options now being considered by the Israeli military with a looming conflict with Lebanon.
I think we're already seeing the start of this sort of new phase of the war. It's been talked about by Israeli officials, by the Defense Minister Yoav Gallant, and he's been saying in the past few days that we're beginning a new phase of this war against Hezbollah. The recent actions in Lebanon, even if you ignore the pages and the other devices that exploded in Lebanon, we're seeing much more intensive Israeli strikes inside Lebanon. We're seeing the last strike just now in Beirut, killing, or reportedly killing, a top Hezbollah commander. And this is really could come before a potential ground operation. It's hard to say how extensive such a ground operation could be. It may be something limited, but at least according to Israel's goals now, which were sort of updated a few days ago, which is returning the displaced Israelis back to their homes. Under that goal, Israel would probably need to push Hezbollah back from the border, and that could be done in a ground operation.
I've seen conflicting analysis. Respected analysts have made the point that perhaps now with Hezbollah seriously weakened, there is a unique opportunity for Israel to actually deal with Hezbollah in a way they haven't for decades. That is one side of the analysis. The other side, of course, is the risk that they are still hugely armed. And one thinks back to 2006, and it was hugely damaging for both sides, that war.
I definitely agree with the second assessment. And all that war with Hezbollah would be devastating, both for Israel and for Lebanon. Israeli assessments have put it at hundreds or thousands of casualties on the Israeli side. It won't be anything easy. But Israel's reached this point where Hezbollah have tied their attacks in the north to what is going on in Gaza. Israel hasn't ended its war in Gaza yet. So for Hezbollah to stop its attacks, it doesn't seem to want to sort of agree to stop them unless Israel ends the war in Gaza, which isn't going to happen. So Israel has to now, at least in its point of view, begin to ramp up its activities in Lebanon, to use basically military pressure to force Hezbollah away. I don't think Hezbollah's degraded particularly at this point. Sure, it's lost hundreds of operatives, it's lost top commanders, but it's still it's an army in Lebanon. It has hundreds of missiles and thousands and maybe even hundreds of thousands of rockets aimed at Israel. And in the end of the day, even if there is a major war, it's going to end with some kind of agreement. Eventually, there will be a ceasefire. I don't think Israel ever intends to completely destroy Hezbollah as it is currently doing in the Gaza Strip with Hamas. It's a completely different player, and I don't think even in Israel's plans to completely destroy Hezbollah, damage it for sure, but it will eventually end in a deal. So it's probably better for Israel to reach a deal before launching a major war rather than after it, less casualties. But
a really brief final thought. A brief final thought. Where are the hostages in all of this equation, and where do you think public opinion is, briefly?
Israel definitely wants to retrieve the hostages, but the sort of negotiations for a deal, I don't think have been progressing all that much recently. And that, I think, is part of what has brought Israel to begin facing north instead, diverting forces there, because it's realized that it's not able to reach a deal at this point. And the north is still a problem, and there's still 60,000 displaced Israelis from their homes. And now that's become I wouldn't say more of a priority, but it's become another one of the war's goals.
Well, let me show you some of the latest pictures that we've just received, because just the immediate aftermath of the blast, and you can see the damage there to the building. And if we just remove the strap, then you can see more of the picture, and of course the sort of various efforts made in the immediate aftermath. But the Lebanese Health Ministry saying that 8 people being killed in this strike, with 59 at least being injured. And of course, there were scenes of panic in that area. The ambulances, as you would expect, as some of those injured were taken away. So the pictures coming into us as you are watching these pictures. Let's go to one of the medical facilities where some of those injured have been taken to. Nafish Kanavad is our correspondent who's outside. And Nafish, just bring us up to date.
A while ago, Matthew, they brought one of the first casualties from Dahieh. We could confirm that the person, we couldn't see he was dead or she. We couldn't confirm that what is she or he, but they said that it's definitely from Dahieh. The atmosphere here is very tense because this hospital also is treating tens of Hezbollah members that were injured by pagers explosion. And now I hear from sources, despite that Hezbollah still has not confirmed officially, but I'm hearing from my sources that Mr. Aqil, the commander in charge of a special operation of Hezbollah, is killed. This is not confirmed by Hezbollah itself. We are waiting for the group's statement. And also I'm hearing that in that building, which was a residential building belonging to Mr. Aqil, that was hit by 2 missiles fired from F-35 jets over Dahieh. Other Hezbollah members also were present. Now search operation still continues. We don't know that how many people were killed. The news agency, Lebanon's news agency, says that the number may go up. But who is Mr. Aqil? Mr. Aqil was accused by the US of being behind operation against US embassy in 1983, killing almost more than 63 people, mainly Americans, in 1983. And also he was one of those that US is accusing being behind attack on the same time and in the same year against US Marines, like Fouad Shukr, the other commander that was killed in July 13. And he was apparently, what I'm hearing from my sources, that he was replaced Mr. Shukr, the second person in Hezbollah. And now Haaretz, Israel's newspaper Haaretz, say that they have information that Mr. Aqil was one of the patients, one of the injured people that because of the pager blast, and he left the hospital just this morning. This is what we are hearing now. This is a very difficult day for Hezbollah because Hezbollah also, through via a statement, they confirmed that 2 of their Radwan elite forces, which is the Hezbollah's elite young fighters, were killed on the border with Israel, and their bodies still on the other side. They couldn't bring their bodies. Apparently there was an operation for infiltration to Israel from the south, and the bodies is in the hands of IDF, Israeli army, as we understand from the statement.
Nafish, thank you very much for the latest. As Nafish was saying, that sources confirming to the Reuters news agency that Ibrahim Aqil has been killed in this attack, and actually going on, one of the sources saying he was killed alongside members of Hezbollah's elite Radwan unit as they were holding a meeting today. So more strikes there in Beirut with more Hezbollah commanders being targeted, but the overall death toll is being put at 8, with 59 others injured.